Tiffany Henyard's political career has been enmeshed in controversy due to a series of scandals and claims of misusing taxpayer funds that have cast a long shadow over her tenure. Recently, the FBI visited her home with a detailed list of alleged corrupt activities, demanding personnel records and disciplinary files for 29 Dalton employees, as well as contracts and payments related to the time after the death of longtime supervisor Frank Zucker in 2022. Henyard, who became the youngest and first female employee in 2021. The mayor of Thoron Township first sparked hope when she was the supervisor of Florin Township, but that hope was short-lived as her tenure was characterized by controversial decisions that infuriated the public and unrelenting criticism. At the center of the scrutiny are ongoing claims that Henyard has misused public funds for private benefit. These claims have gotten worse with revelations of her extravagant spending, including a highly dubious 5-day trip to Austin, Texas, in July 2023. The trip, which was accompanied by her assistant Keith Freeman, who also works in Thoron Township, and 3 other township officials, reportedly cost Dalton taxpayers over $220,000. The expenses included a $1,600 stay at the upscale Fairmont Austin Hotel, a $389 dinner at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, $413 worth of purchases at Walgreens, and $53 spent on sports and riding apparel. Despite these substantial costs, the Henyard office has not offered a clear explanation for the trip, only stating that it took where Dalton has come under heavy fire for its lack of openness, particularly in light of its mounting multi-million-dollar debt and other financial difficulties that call for careful budgetary management. The public's anger has been further heightened by the disclosures of extravagant expenditures, especially given the community's desperate. Many citizens of financial stake contend that instead of engaging in what they see as personal excesses that exacerbate the situation, authorities should concentrate on easing economic hardships. Henyard has been charged with using public funds for private indulgences, such as hiring a personal hairstylist, has angered citizens and public officials. Local trustee Jason House has publicly criticized Henyard's objectives. House described her behavior as a sign of misaligned goals that are sharply at odds with the requirements of a community that is experiencing financial difficulties. Hen's extravagant spending and seeming lack of concern for financial responsibility have been increasingly exposed, caused a lot of controversy, and raised serious questions about her leadership. Critics contend that Hen's actions have caused her to become estranged from the same people she was chosen to represent, which is helping to residents are becoming more and more distrustful of her, and many now see her actions as indicative of a self-serving agenda that is increasingly divorced from the community's struggles. As the controversy surrounding her alleged misuse of taxpayer funds intensifies, serious questions have been raised regarding her commitment to ethical governance and the welfare of Dalton's home, with growing demands for an investigation into her spending and leadership habits. Public trust in her capacity to serve the community has been severely damaged. The scandal has taken center stage in political discourse, and her actions continue to incite outrage among her constituents, many of whom now doubt her suitability for office. As the scrutiny grows, Henyard faces increasing pressure to address the accusations made against her and give a convincing explanation for her choices. The continuous decline in her leadership serves as a warning about how accusations of corruption and financial mismanagement may jeopardize even the most promising political careers, even though it is unclear if Henyard will be able to weather the storm and repair public confidence. The task at hand is crucial since Henyard has to face the mounting consequences of her behavior and try to restore her reputation in the face of broad public disenchantment.
Responsive, transparent, and effective stewards of your precious.
As the public's discontent with Mayor Tiffany Henyard's management of Dalton's finances and her controversial spending increased, local trustee Jason House realized that change was desperately needed. In reaction to the growing dissatisfaction, she proceeded to make dubious financial judgments and indulge in costly personal expenses, which led to an increase in her reckless use of taxpayer funds. House made the crucial choice to run for mayor in 2025. His motivation is a strong desire to bring accountability, integrity, and openness back to the position as a committed public servant with extensive knowledge of as a beacon of hope for residents looking for responsible leadership, especially those who are eager for a leader who prioritizes fiscal discipline and ethical governance. As the 2025 election approaches, House is positioning himself as a candidate capable of leading Dalton towards a brighter, more prosperous future. His message of reform is resonating with voters, many of whom feel increasingly disillusioned with Henyard's leadership. His campaign promises to address the problems that have plagued Dalton under Henyard's leadership, including the mounting multi-million-dollar debt and the lack of accountability in local government houses. I am happy to announce that I am running for mayor of Dalton under Mayor Tiffany Henyard as an alternative leader who can bring back financial stability and an open, accountable administration in a state. Among the many growing challenges Dalton has encountered are unresolved licensing issues that have led to the closure of multiple businesses. One such example is the Lawrence Tur Trucking Company, which has not been in operation since January 2023. Gardner, the owner, was charged by the village with selling alcohol at a private event without a license, but a judge ruled in his favor, implying that there might have been additional factors at play. According to reports, a number of local business owners were asked to donate $3,500 to the village shortly after Henyard took office, raising concerns about possible conflicts of interest. However, despite the FBI's refusal to acknowledge any investigation into Henyard, she has come under heavy fire from trustee Kiana Beer, who has spoken out about the financial management under Henyard's leadership. Beer claims that she has been in talks with Henyard about these issues for months. Additionally, Henyard has come under fire for prioritizing her personal safety, while the village's police force is facing shortages and other serious difficulties. Bird Odin, a council member, condemned the passing of 6 police vehicles. It has exacerbated worries about the safety and security of the village by contributing to a lack of personnel. The situation has gotten worse as Henyard's detractors claim that the media is only covering the bad parts of her term. To express their displeasure, scores of Thornton Township residents gathered for a demonstration demanding Henyard's resignation and a thorough probe of her spending. Even though Henyard has vehemently denied any wrongdoing, many locals are angry with her total control over the village's budget, which has stopped other officials from authorizing expenses. This concentration of power has allowed Henyard to have unbridled control over the village's financial situation. Concerns over transparency and accountability were raised in March 2024 when Henyard was accused of embezzling $67,000 in public funds that were purportedly spent for personal travel. She defended her actions by presenting receipts. Concerns regarding the misappropriation of public funds have not been adequately addressed by her. Her unwillingness to take accountability for the dubious expenses and the opaqueness of her financial choices have further damaged public confidence. The worry sparked the Take Our Township Back march, during which the local residents sought a comprehensive inquiry and called for Henyard's resignation. The village board has called for a thorough investigation into her spending habits, acknowledging the $2 million deficit that was reported. However, it was later discovered that Henyard had minimized the true scope of the financial crisis, with the deficit being significantly worse than first reported. Henyard rejected the allegations against her as part of a biased narrative that she had been the victim of a personal attack, but former trustee Edward Steve noted that even though Henyard may attempt to shift blame, she will finally have to accept accountability for her own deeds. After she publicly criticized the mayor, the situation took a troubling turn when it was alleged that a hitman allegedly employed by someone with connections to Henyard shot at 2 of area's vehicles. This incident further raised questions about Henyard's leadership and the extent to which her supporters were prepared to go in order to protect her. Another charge against Henyard is that she singled out anyone who voiced their disapproval. A former assistant of Henyard's claimed to have been harassed by a trustee on Henyard's board. The assistant informed Henyard of the harassment, but the mayor allegedly ignored it. Discouraged her from speaking up because she thought it would destroy her career. However, she filed a formal complaint, and the assistant was eventually put on unpaid medical leave and fired. These accusations of harassment and retaliation only serve to highlight the perception of an unethical and self-serving leadership style. The growing number of Henyard-related controversies has alienated many community members, who see our actions as a sign that the leadership is more concerned with their own interests than with the requirements of Dalton's residents. A concerning image of Hannon's term as mayor is painted by the accusations of corruption, financial mismanagement, and suppression of dissent as the House proceeds. Throughout his campaign, he has positioned himself as a candidate who will bring accountability and integrity back to the office and work to address Dalton's problems. It remains to be seen if he can successfully steer Dalton out of the storm, but his message of reform is obviously striking a chord with the community that is ready for change. Tiffany Henyard is embroiled in a major controversy involving her former maintenance manager, Dwayne Drash, who sued the mayor after being fired while on vacation. Dwayne Drash claims that his termination was due to his refusal to take part in a dubious scheme that Henyard and her assistant Keith Freeman created. The plan purportedly included firing, replacing the present village attorney with a legal practice that Freeman prefers. Continuing conflicts within her administration are highlighted by this charge, which joins the growing list of wrongdoing allegations against Henyard. Thrash has garnered a lot of public attention for her assertions, especially since they support more general critiques of Henyard's leadership style. Many have characterized her method as these conflicts are also evident in Henyard's increasingly controversial management of public gatherings, which are dictatorial and contemptuous of opposition. In one especially contentious public speech, Henyard made it apparent that she was dissatisfied with the way she interacts with the community, which frequently reflects a top-down style that disregards public feedback. Declining that there won't be any comments because I'm going to address some issues is unacceptable. Henyard persisted in her speech, highlighting her unilateral approach, even though a special meeting of the Thoron Township trustees had been canceled, leaving the 5 current trustees conspicuously absent. If you don't want to hear what I have to say, you can leave. This is just me informing you of what's going on. If you'd rather not hear it, you can leave. Frustration among officials and residents is fueled by her aggressive tone and inability to engage with criticism, which many perceive as dismissive and unyielding leadership. While these public exchanges are indicative of a larger trend in which Henyard prioritizes her own agenda over cooperative governance, this strategy has further distanced her from her colleagues, and public critics contend that Henyard's leadership lacks the accountability and transparency required for effective governance, particularly in a community facing major social and financial challenges. Her propensity to ignore opposing viewpoints and use a unilateral decision-making process has not only alienated locals, but also widened rifts within the local government. The Henyard administration's dynamic is further complicated by alleged partiality and dubious choices. As public fury grows, the purported bribery plot presents a concerning image of an administration motivated by self-interest and moral failings, and its management of criticism and dissent has emerged as a major issue of contention. Her combative method poses significant doubts about her capacity to handle the challenges of public office and her community's concerns. This continuous SOG of conflict and accusations has caused many locals to doubt her leadership and the wider ramifications of her actions for the community's future. Her handling of disagreements and criticism is characterized by an apparent unwillingness to participating in constructive discussion or cooperative problem-solving, has turned into a lightning rod for dissatisfaction. The absence of accountability, transparency, and an inclusive governance style has made it more difficult for her to lead and bring her community together as the Henyard controversy heats up, making it more difficult for her to make amends with her detractors and win back the trust of her constituents. In addition to reflecting her leadership challenges, her confrontational style makes them worse, making it harder for her to address the community's larger problems. The residents' growing mistrust and dissatisfaction highlight the need for a more transparent, accountable, and inclusive leadership style, qualities that many feel Henyard has not yet shown during her tenure. A recent board meeting in which Tiffany Henyard showed up dressed as Nino Brown, a character from the movie New Jack City, sparked widespread criticism of her increasingly informal and contentious approach to her role as mayor. Many people found this to be unprofessional and disrespectful of her duties as a public servant, raising serious questions about her commitment to her public service. This incident is only one instance of a larger pattern of alleged misconduct and ethical lapses that have defined her tenure. At the same board meeting, a trustee publicly denounced Henyard for what they described as predatory and unethical behavior, according to servant critics Chan and Durr, who contend that Henyard's behavior trivializes politics, turning serious governance into a spectacle and undermining public trust. The period she spent overseeing Thuron Township. Additionally, Parman, the mayor of Dalton, charged that Henyard had presented a false narrative of success that was financed by government monies while abusing local employees and vendors to increase her own power and influence. This charge intensifies. The public's suspicion of Henyard raises questions regarding the integrity of local government under her direction, have damaged Henyard's reputation, and made many doubt her suitability for office, revealing a leadership style that some contend puts one's own interest and reputation ahead of the community's well-being. The Henyard scandals are not new. They started in 2019 when CBS Chicago unearthed significant problems with a rental property she owned. The property had been receiving Section 8 housing subsidies for the property despite several unfixed issues, such as serious mold growth and water leaks. Local reports claimed that by November 2019, the property was declared uninhabitable, resulting in the tenant's eviction, but Henyard allegedly continued to collect Section 8 payments despite the dire conditions, which included mold growing on the tenant's possessions, including her daughter's shoes, for the property without resolving the numerous issues that caused community members to become increasingly indignant. Many believe that Henyard had put money before giving her tenants livable conditions. Subsequent investigations revealed concerning shortcomings in the property inspection process, which fueled public outrage and made the property scandal a focal point for larger worries regarding leadership and Henyard ethics. The fallout from these revelations only served to intensify the already divisive atmosphere. Mayor Carmen acknowledged that she had previously participated in extravagant project overspending, but she and other trustees asserted that they had since put stronger restrictions on special event spending and credit card use in place to stop future financial abuse. The public conversation was still dominated by Henyard's perceived shortcomings, overshadowing attempts to re-establish fiscal restraint and responsibility. Critics contend that in addition to undermining local government's legitimacy, Henyard's term has highlighted the significance of moral leadership, openness, and putting the good of the community before individual goals. Henyard's alleged wrongdoing ranged from unprofessional conduct during board meetings to her management of Section 8 property and taxpayer funds, a troubling image of a leader who appears disconnected from the requirements of public service is presented by scandal. Due to these accusations and her seeming disdain for the rules of good governance, public trust has been damaged, and many people now doubt her dedication to her position as a public servant. The ongoing controversy surrounding Henyard serves as a clear reminder of the importance of integrity and accountability in leadership. These attributes are critical to the viability and credibility of local government institutions,
He
and
said no,
Henyard's
or
capacity
they had
to
something
lead
else to do.
effectively has
But
been
Andrew,
severely hampered by their absence.
Miles did say that if he's done doing whatever he was doing, he'll catch up with us. Okay, so fine, but I at least knew I got a man with me, I'm gonna make it home. I ain't even gotta worry about try to go on the strip by myself. I legitimately thought that, I was.
When Tiffany Henyard started publicly criticizing Mayor Riley Rogers' term and actions in October 2020, her political career took a sharp turn. When her controversial past was revealed, her criticisms received a lot of attention, but this did not stop her from rising to prominence. In a hotly contested four-way Democratic primary, Henyard defeated Rogers to win the nomination, and she went on to defeat challenger Ronnie Burge with 82% of the vote in the general mayoral election. Breaking barriers as the first Black woman to serve as mayor was widely praised, and she received a lot of support from the community. However, as time went on, Henyard's tenure received more and more criticism and accusations of misconduct. Although she had initially gained respect for her pioneering role, her leadership style soon came under scrutiny. She frequently used her identity as a shield from criticism, especially during intense moments like one particularly heated board meeting in February, where she yelled at the trustees. Despite early harmony between Henyard and the Village Board of Trustees, including Village Clerk Ken Allison and Trustee Jason, tensions soon escalated initially. Critics said that this statement, which many saw as a deflection, exemplified a pattern of Henyard focusing on her race and gender rather than addressing the substance of the concerns raised. The cooperative spirit between the board and Henyard quickly soured when trustees accused her of financial mismanagement, drawing intense public scrutiny. By April 2022, the situation reached a breaking point when the village board sued Henyard, claiming that she had misappropriated municipal funds. What had once been a fruitful working partnership came to an end during this court battle, and the trustees, who are now united in opposition, gravely accused Henyard of corruption and misusing government funds. Harm her reputation. As a result, Henyard cast herself as a victim, accusing the trustees of plotting against her. She intensified the conflict by preventing the trustees from entering their offices, talking about their private information in public, and meddling in their personal affairs. These actions, which were viewed as provocative and ineffective, caused chaos and increased the hostility between her and the board. The contentious dynamic resulted in increasingly hostile and ineffective board meetings that frequently turned into drawn-out arguments between creditors. Frequently cited growing evidence of financial misconduct on the part of Henyard's, but the mayor adamantly denied the accusations, refusing to take responsibility or participate in productive dialogue. This further distanced her from the board and the public. The ongoing dispute disrupted the operation of local government, leaving many residents dissatisfied and disillusioned with the leadership. Henyard's attempts to deflect criticism by accusing her critics of planning attacks against her only made the situation worse. The general belief that she was. The board's lawsuit, which revealed specifics of suspected financial misconduct, increased public scrutiny of her leadership since she was reluctant or unable to address valid issues. Henyard's claims of victimization were undermined by the allegations that she had embezzled municipal funds and used her position for personal benefit. Her actions, including interfering with trustee duties and disclosing private information in public, were widely condemned. As being unprofessional and ineffective, many perceived these actions as an effort to divert attention away from her own apparent wrongdoing and towards her purported persecution. What started out as a promising term for Henyard, marked by a historic accomplishment, quickly gave way to a highly divided and contentious administration. The mounting evidence of financial mismanagement and ethical failings eclipsed her early successes, making her tenure a warning about the perils of unbridled power and a refusal to participate in collaborative governance. The Discord app. While Henyard continued to portray herself as the victim of targeted attacks, many perceived our actions as a conscious attempt to hold on to power and avoid accountability, turning board meetings into battlegrounds. This created an atmosphere of distrust and dysfunction within the local government, highlighting her inability to address criticism constructively and her reliance on combative and deflective tactics. The persistent controversies and her unwavering refusal to have meaningful conversations tarnished her legacy, leaving many doubting her suitability for office and generating wider concerns about the difficulties of upholding integrity in public service. Her leadership, which disregarded the principles
residents
of
showed up
transparency
at the
and
meeting tonight, but only 42 residents
alienated both
were allowed
colleagues and
inside.
constituents.
They had to walk through metal detectors and
Community members have voiced their sorrow and disgust over what they perceive to be the misappropriation of public funds during Tiffany Henyard's administration, as her term as a public official has grown more contentious due to mounting indignation and charges of corruption. One local citizen expressed their anguish to Fox 32, saying, "I'm heartbroken that this woman entered our town and used all of our tax dollars." This emotion mirrors widespread complaints in the community, particularly with reference to the difficulties faced by many senior individuals. Many residents accuse her of personal profiteering at the expense of the public, despite her initial rise to power. During a public meeting, residents expressed their disillusionment and betrayal, with one saying, "I suspected it all along. This administration is shameful." Another added, "We're all waiting for the fall of this administration." These reactions highlight the growing demand for accountability, with calls for strict actions, including jail time for Henyard, growing. Due to unfulfilled promises and her apparent lack of accountability, the community now feels abandoned and deceived. The public has mostly shied away from Henyard, and the increasing scrutiny of her behavior further intensifies it. Frustration among residents. Her nomination as Thornton Township's supervisor after Frank Zucker's death was one of the unexpected occurrences that marked Henyard's political ascension. At first, she told residents and staff that she would put the needs of the town first, work hard, and act properly. Immediately, these assurances seemed hollow as, early on, her actions started to go against what she had said. Henyard had declared herself the people's trustee and declared herself the people's mayor and supervisor, promising openness and moral leadership, but her choices all but broke these promises. At her second board meeting, Henyard unexpectedly announced that she had fired 2 employees, one from the Human Resources Division and the other a former Zucker executive assistant. She blamed these dismissals on miscommunications, but they raised tensions among township employees and publicly criticized the previous administration for allegedly using public funds for personal indulgences, like costly trips to resorts like Eaglewood Resort and Spa. She referred to these expenses as big red flags and assured taxpayers that they would never be allowed under her leadership. However, claims surfaced that Henyard had misused public funds, including for renovating her mother's property and her own home. These revelations contradicted her earlier statements and further fueled accusations against the administration. Public outrage. Henyard's initial popularity, which was fueled by her pledges of reform and moral leadership, swiftly vanished as allegations of financial impropriety grew. Residents started to demand answers regarding her alleged misappropriation of funds for personal luxury, while vital community needs, particularly those of vulnerable populations, remained unmet. Despite the community's strong calls for accountability, Hen's persistent avoidance of the spotlight has only made them more irate at the lack of openness and her seeming unwillingness to interact with prosecution on these grave charges has left many feeling helpless and uncertain as to if she will ever admit her wrongdoing or offer proof to disprove the allegations against her, even though she initially received widespread public support. The administration of Henna has become more and more hypocritical. After a turbulent election process, the supervisor of Thornton Township was already controversial, and her pledges to end inappropriate use of funds and claims of personal financial benefit have destroyed their confidence. The death of Zucker, the swift decline of her leadership into scandal and controversy, highlights how easily trust can be undermined when elected officials fail to align their actions with their words. What was supposed to be an administration founded on fairness, ethical behavior, and putting the people first has been overshadowed by accusations that Henyard used public funds. In one of her first board meetings, she assured staff and residents of her dedication to good governance, promising to prioritize their needs and emphasizing transparency and responsibility. Money for selfish purposes. As public scrutiny increases and accusations of hypocrisy and corruption continue to mount, residents' skepticism and outrage have grown. Her decision to stay out of the public eye has only left many questions unanswered. Will she come forward with evidence to clear her name, or will she continue to evade the mounting pressure to address the claims against her? Her repeated avoidance of direct engagement with the public only serves to escalate the frustration and disappointment felt by the community. Is left wondering whether Henyard will ever accept responsibility or continue to distance herself from the hard realities of her leadership, while her constituents struggle with the effects of a leader they feel has let them down. Many people believe Henyard has given up integrity, openness, and responsibility in her pursuit of personal gain, but the ongoing issue serves as a clear reminder of how important these traits are in public life. Until we meet again, thanks for watching Visual Vortex.